All right, so today we're diving into something kind of unexpected, right? Like the word perfection. We think we've got it figured out, yeah. You ace a test, boom, perfect.
Right, like it's this absolute thing, a finish line.
Totally. But the sermon we're looking at today throws a curveball. Who doesn't love hearing that? Especially in, that context.
Right, right. In God's eyes, the biggest compliment ever.
Exactly. But there's more. Not more like you're not enough, but more like hidden potential or something.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about this. It's not about judgment. It's more like, how do we keep growing even when we think we've hit the ceiling?
So this sermon, it's based on the Apostle Paul's letters, right?
Mhm.
Colossians, Philippians, that kind of thing. What's the
Right.
deal with those?
So imagine Paul's writing these letters,
Mm.
like pep talks,
Yeah.
to these early churches, and he's like their biggest fan, wants them to absolutely crush it in their faith.
Okay, so he's a coach, got his team, believes in them 100%. But here's where it gets wild. The sermon's saying even Paul wrestled with this, like already perfect, but still pushing for something more. How does that even compute?
So picture this. The sermon uses this analogy of a race. Salvation, that's crossing the finish line. Victory. But then there's this prize of the high calling. It's like, you won, congrats, now go be amazing.
Okay, whoa, my mind's a little blown right now. So it's not like you just coast once you hit a certain level.
Not at all. It's realizing that perfection, it's not a dead end.
Yeah.
There's always more, always room to grow, to aim higher.
Instead of finishing the race, it's like setting a personal best and beating that.
You got it. It's that constant striving, even when you're already considered fundamentally complete.
And the sermon uses some pretty intense language to get this across, right? Like it talks about an out resurrection, which not your everyday term.
Totally. And it's not just anti-resurrection. It's like above and beyond, standing out from the crowd. And that ties into how the sermon uses perfection, linking it to the Greek word telos.
So less about good enough, more about living up to your full potential. What's the telos connection there?
Good question. That gets to the heart of this whole thing. Telos, it's like telos. It's like, how can I explain this? Think of an acorn, right?
Yeah.
It's not meant to just be an acorn forever. It's had this whole destiny to become this massive oak tree.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this.
We're all kind of like that. We've got this potential inside us that's way bigger than what we might see right now.
So when the sermon talks about our perfection being our telos, it's not just about being a good person. It's about stepping into that bigger purpose, right?
Exactly. And the sermon connects that to like our relationship with God. It's saying that's where we really find our full potential by becoming more like what we were created to be.
So it's in that relationship, that connection, that we kind of unlock that next level of growth. Not aiming for some abstract idea of perfection, but becoming the best versions of ourselves, but like with that connection in mind.
You nailed it. And what's interesting is this whole idea, it kind of goes beyond just religion,
Yeah.
Like we all have those areas where we're decent at something, but we could be amazing if we really went for it.
Oh, 100%. It's like when you learn a new skill and you're like, yes, I did it. But then you realize there's this whole other level of mastery you never even knew existed. It's kind of daunting, but also exciting at the same time,
And that's exactly what this sermon is getting at. It's not about hitting some finish line and being done.
Yeah.
It's more like embracing the journey of always growing, always pushing ourselves to become more like the best, truest versions of ourselves.
And the sermon uses that story from the Bible, right? The one with Esau selling his birthright for a bowl of soup. Talk about impulsive.
Right, like the ultimate example of choosing the easy way over the long game. Esau gave up something incredibly valuable for like a moment of satisfaction.
Which, let's be real, we've all been there at some point. Taking the easy way out, even when you know deep down you could be doing so much more.
It makes you think, right? And it brings us back to this core idea from the sermon. It's not about earning God's love. It's about how we show our dedication through what we do,
So like it's a reflection of what we value, how we choose to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it like a kid who wins a prize at school. Their parents already love them no matter what. But that kid, they put in the work, the dedication. And that just makes everyone even more proud, right?
Oh, totally. It's like that feeling of, I did my best.
And it's not just about pleasing others. It's about aligning our actions with our own values, striving for excellence because we want to, not because we have to.
Man, that really hits home. Makes me think about the kind of impact I want to have, Like, what's my legacy going to be? What are those prizes I'm really aiming for? Not just success or whatever, but in terms of, like, how I'm actually living out what I believe in.
And those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves. What are the prizes of the high calling in our own lives? What gets us fired up? What makes us feel like we're truly living out our purpose?
It's like everyone has those prize-winning moments inside them, right? Those times you push past what you thought you were capable of and surprise even yourself.
Absolutely. And the best part is those prizes, they don't have to be these huge life-altering things. Sometimes it's those small choices we make day after day that build up to something amazing.
It's like, what's that saying? We are what we repeatedly do. This whole deep dive's got me thinking about that in a whole new light.
It's not about checking boxes. It's about showing up as the best version of ourselves, even when no one's watching.
And that's what I find so powerful about this whole idea of perfection, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you reach it and that's it, game over.
Right, like, I'm perfect, time to retire. No way.
It's a journey, always pushing yourself, growing, discovering new depths to who you are.
Exactly. And along the way, finding those prizes, those
Mhm.
things that make you come alive, that make you feel like you're truly fulfilling your purpose.
So if we were to sum this whole thing up, this perfection thing, it's not a destination. It's more like the fuel that keeps us going, keeps us striving to be better.
Perfectly said. And as you're on that journey, here's something to think about. Our source, it focused on the Bible, right?
Right.
But where else do you see this idea of going above and beyond? In your own life, your work, your relationships, maybe even your hobbies. What are those prizes that are worth chasing?
It's such a great question to end on. Time for us all to figure out what gets us fired up, what those prizes look like for each of us, and start running our own races. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everybody.